Many of you are here today because your organizations have taken on the classic symptoms of a New Year's Day hangover. Not healthy enough to go jogging, but not sick enough to be aired. So I imagine that at the same time, there are times that when you are alone, that you ask yourself, why are you even in this field? I mean, those moments of solitude, like when you're in the laundromat, watching your clothes go round and round, and all of a sudden letting your mind wander about all those questions that go on about the field. And you begin to ask yourself those same questions that your mother has been asking you over the last decade. When are you going to go out and get a real job? I mean, what is this field of economic development? Nobody has really heard of it. It's a tough one to really be in. I mean, don't you do that? I mean, don't you sit around in the laundromat and think about those big questions in your life? I mean, after all, the magazines there are about 3 to 5 years old. I mean, you're not going to find out the latest about what happened in the OJ trial. You're not going to find out about Oprah's latest diet. However, I mean, you may find out why this mom refuses to give up her dog-faced baby girl. I mean, when you read the story, though, you will find that it's not really that long, and you're back to thinking about your life, you're back to thinking about your career, and you're saying, God, I can't believe I picked that magazine up. What about you? You look like the type of guy that sits around in the laundromat. Don't you do that? You do. Of course you do. We all do. That's what laundromats are all about. After all, your clothes are in this big, dumpy, watery grave of just nothingness and hopelessness and despair. What better time to think about your life than in a laundromat? And I must confess to you all that it is in the laundromat where I first came up with my theory of economic development. Economic development is like detergent. That's all. Economic development is like detergent. It's that simple. I mean, think about it. What's detergent? Soap. What's soap? Bubbles. What are bubbles? Air. What's air? Nothing. Economic development is like nothing. I mean, don't you feel that way? Being in economic development is like being in this giant vortex of nothing, as you are constantly striving to find funds in order to do the things that your community expects you to do. And to make matters even worse, there are no businesses that are moving into your area. Startup businesses are really having a great deal of difficult time trying to find their way into the business world. Children are moving out of the community right and left. Are you buying this, Jim? Did you buy this speech at all?
You better.
I don't think you do. I don't really think you do. In fact, I know what you're thinking of right now. You're probably saying to yourself, here you are sitting in the front row. Look how close I am to having it all. That's probably what you're saying. I mean, if that container of all represents the ingredients of a successful economic development program, wouldn't you want to have it? Wouldn't you like to have it all? Sure you do. Wouldn't you want to have out-of-state businesses move into your area? Wouldn't you like to have startup businesses that are homegrown and productive? Wouldn't you like to have family businesses that could be passed down from generation to generation? Wouldn't you like to have businesses that could export their product all over the world? Say yeah! Say yeah! Yeah! There you go. I mean, isn't that what a successful economic development program is like? Isn't that what it's like to have it all? I mean, think about it. Think of all the jobs that you could create. Think of all the money that would circulate into your economy. Money that could be used to fix the roads and build parks and generate tourism and provide services that could enhance the quality of life for each and every one of your communities. Wouldn't you like to have it all? Say yeah! Yeah! Go. You would? I'm going to give it to you. But before I I give it to you, let me ask you a question. Let's say you have it all. Okay? Let's say you have a successful economic development program. How long do you think that you can keep it all? How long do you think that you could keep this container full? Remember, as you have a successful economic development program, you are going to use the ingredients. So this isn't going to be full forever. So how long do you think it'll last? Do you think successful economic development lasts forever? Of course not. Do you think that just because you've recruited a company to town that it won't go somewhere else? Do you think that just because you helped a startup business that it won't have problems in its expansion phase? Do you think that children want to continue to work in their parents' business for generation after generation? Your community may all of a sudden begin to experience high unemployment. There will be no new businesses moving into your town. There will be no startup businesses that are able to start up. The banks will no longer loan money. Your microloan program is drying up. And all of a sudden, your community will be just like a force in nature. Your community will be just like the tide. And successful economic development, like the tide, comes in and comes out. And while the tide is out, your economic development organization will also begin to experience problems. Members will begin dropping out of your organization. You will have trouble recruiting members into your organization. There will be no state or federal grants that are available to you. And all of a sudden, you will begin to have to start laying people off right and left. And all that you can do is wait until the tide comes back. So, Jim, given that, knowing that the tide comes in and the tide goes out, do you still want it all?
I live in Pacific County, the tide goes in and out all the time.
Working this for 6 months and somebody gives you the best line of the whole time. Well, I'm going to give it to you. I told you I would. But actually, before I give it to you, let me ask you another question. Well, actually, it's not a question. It's something I want you to be aware of. I want you to be aware of that if you take it all, that there's also something else that you need to take as well. Because for a successful economic development program, you have to realize that you also have to take some Whisk. If you have a successful economic development program, you also have to have some Whisk. If your organization is going to focus on helping businesses, you have to realize that 3 out of 5 businesses are probably going to fail in the first year. If you're going to focus on spending time recruiting a company, then you have to realize that coming in second place is no consolation. Or, activities, you have to realize that the legislature could pass a law that could make it more difficult and more expensive for businesses to do business in your community. I'm sorry, that's a bad example. The legislature would never do something. If you want to focus on family-run businesses, then you have to realize that Madonna could come to town and capture the hearts and libido of all your children, and they no longer have family-run businesses. These are all the Whisk that you and your organization can have. So let me ask you one last time, Jim. Are you interested in having it all and taking the Whisk, knowing that the tide comes in and the tide comes out of Monty Hall? Literally, it's on the table for you. Or you can have what's behind door number 2, which Lisa, I'm sure, has your check in her pocket right now. You can take the money, or you can have a successful economic growth. You take the money, you leave right here, and nobody will be none the wiser. Although I am your contract manager. You're not getting no fun. So I ask you now very simply, do you want it all?
Well, since you're my contract manager, sure.
Yes.
Great. Let's give a big hand to Jim Lowry, who now has... happy?
Sure.
Great. You look happy.
Just send the check.
Yeah. Actually, you probably look like an idiot when you leave here with all that detergent. But let me ask you another question. What about your neighbor there? I mean, you've got it all, and he's got nothing. I mean, are you going to give him anything? Either one of your neighbors there, are you going to give them anything?
Well, you know, Sharon, I'll have to give her something.
No. Any one of these neighbors.
Your neighbors?
Yeah, you going to give them anything? What are you going to give them?
No.
Help? Yeah, if I knew Pacific County, you wouldn't want it. Well, actually, it looks like Jim is keeping it all. He could have given it portions to his neighbor over there, but it looks like he's keeping it all. But you know what? Anyway, it fits into the speech better this way if he kept it all. But that's a different story. Anyway, but that's how communities are, it seems. I mean, some communities have it all, and some communities have none of it. You know what? That's life. Life is just like that. It represents economic development. Some communities have it all, and yet some communities have nothing. What I would like to do is, let's look at somebody else's life here. How many people here? Nobody's going to sit on the front row anymore. Everybody will be on time because they all want those vaccines. Let me ask you something about your lives, because we're all economic development practitioners. How many people here spend more than just 8 hours a day practicing their craft? Of course. All of you do. Great. Here, I want to talk to you. What's your name is Melinda. Melinda, come around here for a minute. You know what I would like to do? Melinda, we're going to play like this is your life. This is Melinda. Let's give her a big round of applause. You are? Okay. This is your life. Hold up your life so everybody else can see it. Okay, this is Melinda's life. Let me ask you, what community are you from? I don't know. Myrtle Creek. Where's Myrtle Creek?
Southern Oregon.
Southern Oregon. Let's get Well, let me ask you something. What's the name of your organization?
It's short with SUBEC.
SUBEC. I had that when I was a kid.
Stand for South Dakota Valley Economic Development.
Do you have in this room right now, are there any partnerships that you have with other organizations? SUBEC?
In this room?
In this room right here?
Yes, Pacific Corp.
Right, oh, Pacific
Carolyn.
Corp. There you go. Good. Let's give a big hand for Pacific Corp. In the back over there. Another big hand. I'm going to milk this one. Okay, well, how would you like to have a partnership with somebody else in this room?
Yes.
You would.
Yes.
What about this gentleman over here? Because it seems as though he's got it all, and I'm not sure if SUBEC has it all. Do you have unlimited resources in your organization?
No.
If you wanted to start, let's say, a marketing campaign or business recruitment, could you just spend all the money you can talking about your community?
Well, that wouldn't last for over about a day.
Well, because you don't have enough money.
We don't have much money.
We don't have enough money. Well, this guy's got it all over here. So this is what I would like you to do. I would like you to come up. Do you know this gentleman right here? You ever seen?
We just met tonight.
I would like you to take your life, and I would like you to ask him to share your life with you. What I want you to do is, we're trying to develop partnerships right now. So ask him to share your life with you. Good, Charles, there's your life.
Would you share my life, Jim?
It's not so sincere. We need some sincerity. I mean, when you have a partnership in economic development, one of the key ingredients is sincerity. Take the F out of life, and what do you have?
Life.
You have a lie, and we do not have economic development partnerships based on life. So I want you to take your life in your hand. I want you to look him in the eye, and very sincerely, I want you to say, share. I want you to say, you share your life with me. He's got it all. You've got nothing. Go ahead.
Please, Jim. Please share your life with me.
Oh, well, you can have
partnership. And you know what's nice about this partnership is that he may have it all and she may have nothing. But you know, a partnership is really important because when you have a partnership, you have something else. You have a fresh start. I mean, that's what a partnership is like. If this week's presentation teaches you nothing else, let it teach you that all economic development organizations are equal when it comes to the idea of developing partnerships. Having this type of relationship is that you really don't have to be monogamous at all. You can have multiple partnerships in economic development, and it's okay. The more the better. You can get your kicks elsewhere, and it really won't matter. Because the more partnerships that you have, the more successful your community will be. And the more partners, and the more successful that your community will be, the more successful your region will be. And your partners will begin to grow. And even the state, at some point in time, will benefit from that success. And how will that success be measured? Well, how do you measure success? By economic growth. And how is economic growth measured? By income for your community. And how is income circulated in your community? By checks. Big checks. And, of course, little checks. For you, for your community, for your partners, for your whole region, and probably for the state as well. Thank you very much.